Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Thank you very much for joining me. Our patient is a Lenovo Legion 5 after butchering in another shop, and it's kinda interesting. This is what we got. Hi Ralph, as discussed, I'm sending my Lenovo Legion 5 laptop. It features AMD processor and NVIDIA 4070 GPU, a powerful combination. Indeed, it's pretty decent. Unfortunately, my uncle attempted a BIOS update, and during the process, the laptop shut down unexpectedly and has not powered back on since. He mentioned that after several attempts, he was able to reach the Lenovo BIOS screen once, which led us to believe it might be related to computed firmware. Yeah, it's so if you're writing BIOS and you terminate the power, right, you power off the computer, it happens, then the BIOS is corrupted, so you can no longer write it using USB and flash utility. You have to remove the chip, program chip yourself, and that's what we're gonna do. It's very simple repair. Laptop was taken to a local repair shop. We're gonna not name the place or the name of the shop. I have the name of the shop here and the place, but they diagnosed it as a processor failure, but I believe this is unlikely. Yeah, it's not the CPU. Unless, if you keep turning it on with faulty BIOS, I don't know, technically there could be some, the corrupted BIOS theoretically can cause physical damage. I haven't seen it yet, but I hear that it is possible. It might be unlikely, but it's still possible. My uncle informed me that they opened the laptop and kept it for a few days. When he got it back, he mentioned that several screws were missing. I've seen sourced alternate screws to replace the missing ones. Additionally, we observed some physical damage caused during handling. The palm rest near the vent was broken. The back cover had cracks. Oh my god. So I'm including replacement parts. So we have the whole top cover and the whole bottom cover, and we have to replace it. With bottom cover, that's not a big issue. It's actually very simple. But the top cover, you have to disassemble the entire machine. It's time consuming, and it's ridiculous that this is the damage that the shop did, not the customer, not DIYer. A shop charged money and caused more damage than they offered assistance. Okay, I don't know if you'll be able to see this deformation. The screw is not sitting in the center because it has been screwed in so with so much force that it deformed the case. Not to mention, missing screws. No. So see what I do. I get those plastic boxes. This is from Walmart. It's called a crayon box, and indeed the size is enough to hold your crayons. I also use those boxes that I get from China that have multiple compartments and stuff, but it's actually cheaper for me to get it at Walmart here than to source it from China now with that whole nonsense. So yeah, this is kind of a like basics 101, disassembling the device and reassembling it exactly the way it should be reassembled. No missing screws. Basically, when you disassemble it, you throw all the screws in the box. When you're done, you want to see this box empty. You don't want to see any parts left over. So I don't know how they do it, but lately I get a lot of stuff that was messed up by the other repair shop, the local repair shop. I got few of them coming as well. One, that's gonna be the first. We'll see what we need to do. But the customer had a gaming laptop, and it developed lines across the screen and like dead pixels and stuff. But it would work on external, HDMI, no problem, right? So the guy took it to the repair shop, and the repair shop took it apart and took the screen cable when the battery was present. Oh, this is not the right screw. Okay, you forced this screw. Someone forced this screw in. So now we have damage to the threads. Anyways, they took off the screen without disconnecting the battery, and now the computer is dead, right? Typically, it's the PCH that will fry, but this is AMD CPU with PCH on board. So to replace the PCH, we need to replace the CPU. But sometimes it's also only the EC chip that will suffer, and PCH will be fine. It kind of depends. But that's what I'm dealing with lately. Oh, and yeah, they made so much damage. Let me see if I can look at this. See? And oh, this is completely broken. Yeah, there. This is what the repair shop did. Crazy. And in this, all you need are your nails. You don't need spudgers. There. See? No spudgers, no lever, no anything. And it comes off cleanly. And that would save us so much time. And now I have to remove the entire board. I have to remove everything from this laptop. I have to disconnect it, unscrew the hinges to remove the cover and replace it. And that's all added work. I'm gonna have to charge for that, and I'm charging pretty much for the other repair shop. Okay, nice cover on the memory. Oh, there's there is something. That's probably your missing screws. It's crazy. Jesus. Why can I not get an easy case? Nice and easy with, shorted input transistor and nothing more. Now I always get these after easy faults were already diagnosed by other shops. Then they send it to me. Okay, I don't see the BIOS chip, which is too bad, but in that case, let's continue this assembly. And looks like someone's been here before because this is bent. But the BIOS is not here, so that's fine. I see why it's bent, because it's not easy to remove this. Yep, it's bent. I kinda understand, because yeah, it's kinda tough to remove, but okay, now remove the battery as a first step, so you don't have to replace the CPU. Then start disassembling further. Okay, let's see what's underneath this. Oh, and by the way, this was not put on correctly. It should be at the top. That's why there's a little peg over here. See this? So this was underneath, and it's not supposed to be underneath. It should be at the top, right? But it was underneath over there. Not good. Not good. Same here. This is on top. That's what it's supposed to be, not underneath. And the screws are missing. We have missing screw over here, and we have missing screw over here. Okay. It's not even incompetence, because incompetence is you don't know how to recover from corrupted BIOS. So we tell the customer that it's a CPU that's faulty. That's incompetence. But leaving screws off, not replacing all the screws, that's negligence. That's not incompetence. And some people don't like that. Some people want to get their device back in perfect condition. No scratches, no broken pieces. And at least if it worked, if they returned it working, you could at least overlook those and say, well, they did some damage, but they fixed the machine. But in this case, they did pretty much nothing, meaning they didn't address the fault, they didn't fix the fault, and they broke the case. Which in my view, depending on how they handle that, but they should pay for that. And of course, see, here, 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 this is good, here, yeah. A repair shop. A repair shop. Okay, I believe this is the BIOS chip, but we'll confirm that. First let's reset the BIOS, meaning, let's take out the BIOS CMOS battery. There. I wonder if the shop even did that, because some of these faults, I mean not this one it wouldn't have helped, but some faults are, like we had this overheating, diagnosed as overheating Surface laptop. Recently, Lead Farmer suggested that it got fixed because I disconnected the battery and reconnected it. And that was the whole fault. Because, yeah, it works until today. My wife uses it. I use it sometimes. And I didn't do anything to it, right, other than disconnecting the battery. So, yeah, take out the main battery, remove the CMOS battery, leave it like that for a little while, and reconnect it. And sometimes it helps. Not in this case. In this case, it won't help because we know that the BIOS hasn't been written in entirety. It has been interrupted during writing, so obviously it is corrupted. We'll see how long Lead Farmer is gonna need to recover from this, but first we need to read the BIOS. And does it look like it has been with already? That pin on this side over here, and this one here, does it look like it has been? It's kind of suspicious, but maybe they actually did something here with BIOS. I don't know. Still, since they damaged the computer and lost some screws, it's still not redeeming aspect. But maybe they actually did know what to do in this case. They just couldn't do it. Which would be, because this is 1.8 volt chip, alright? And if you read it with 5 volt, with 5 volt programmer, the CH341, like this one, you can cause damage to the chip. And the programmer might still tell you that programming was successful, but you put it in the computer and it doesn't work. Can happen. The 3.3 and 5, it's not that bad. If you use 5 volts on 3.3, you still shouldn't. But I've done it a few times and it worked. But 1.8, if you treat it with 5 volts, that's a huge difference. So I would expect it to fault out if you use 5 volts on the, but we're not gonna try. We're gonna use 1.8. There's another chip over here, but this one's a lot smaller. Would be the BIOS, but it is also a Flash memory, no. Nope. Yeah. Okay, this is the only chip that makes sense here. I'm used to different ones. I'm looking still. That's a MOSFET. One time, that was actually recently. I don't know if you guys saw it on the footage. I forgot to mention it. That Dell with password, BIOS password. I first started heating up and wanted to remove a MOSFET instead of BIOS chip. So yeah, I forgot to mention that, and I don't know if you guys noticed that, but yeah, I started removing MOSFET instead, because they are similar size-wise. They're relatively similar. The BIOS chip is slightly bigger though. Alrighty, let's read the chip, send it to LED Farmer, and let's see if we can boot the device. Once we boot the device, then we have to disassemble everything and replace everything that the other shop broke. Alrighty, now it's gonna be a little loud because they're mowing the lawn. And we got the BIOS back from LED Farmer. The computer should take about 3 minutes before it shows a logo. And this would pretty much be it. If it wasn't for all this damage that the other shop did, this would be it. $50 and your computer's back to working, I know. But instead, I have to disassemble the entire machine just to replace the damage done. Customer's charger. So we don't know if it's charging or not. 300 watts. Yeah, that's well, for 4070, you need a little bit of power. No reaction from the power button. What do you think? Did they remove the display while the battery was plugged in and EC is fried? It could be. Could be. Let's hold the button, but no light, no nothing. Let's see. Am I connected? I'm connected. Everything's good. Let's see if the computer takes any current. Let's see, what's the voltage of this charger? 20 volts. Okay, for a second I thought I felt the breeze from the fans, but no, fans are not spinning. If there's no light, then yeah, the fans are not gonna spin. Let's see, what do we have here? 2.7 watts, yeah, with OCP, and it takes 0. It takes 0, and when I press the button, yeah, no reaction, so it's dead. It's completely dead. What is the architecture of this? Is the question. It's definitely not a BQ chip architecture, which sucks. But eventually I'm gonna have to. If you guys have any documentation on ISO chips, it doesn't look like the Intersil company is willing to give me anything. Main power rail. Okay, we have a short. It's 1 ohm short. Worst kind. What does it mean, 1 ohm short? Most likely CPU or GPU, maybe a top VRM, very likely, and it's closing through the CPU. I would think CPU, but 1 ohm on CPU, that means the CPU is dead. Oh my god, such an easy repair. Botched to this point, and the CPU was not damaged. When the customer brought this to the other shop, the CPU was fine. It was just a BIOS issue. Yeah, I can believe the BIOS can do some damage, but not fry the CPU. The BIOS is not in charge of deciding whether there should be 0.75 volts on CPU or 20 volts, right? BIOS has nothing to do with that. It might interfere with the EC chip, which in turn might send, say, 3.3 volts to the BIOS instead of 1.8, sure, that is possible, but not the CPU. CPU will not be fried because of botched BIOS or corrupted BIOS. Well, 4 ohms on the CPU, 3.9. That is not too bad. This is AMD. Yeah, 5 volts, 5 ohms. I say that is good. 8 ohms on memory. Is that memory? Could be. Now the GPU. Well, obviously it's gonna show 0. Yeah, but that's normal. Yeah. So, but we have 1 ohm on this big coil over here. I don't have the board view yet, so I don't know what this rail is, but it's a big coil. I would say that's 5 volts. Okay, let's test. Let's get it under the scope. Okay, so what we want to see is whether we have short on VRMs. So between here and which one's positive? This one, and that's 0, 0, and that's 0, 0. Okay, so one of these VRMs is shorted, if I'm measuring correctly here. But yeah, most likely this is most likely the power rail going to VRMs and powering here. So that's the source of our short. It's actually shorted VRM is a relatively common issue. We have 0. Can you see? There shouldn't be a short between here and here, right? It's 1.1, 1.9, 0.8. So let's check on the CPU before we move on, because 1 ohm, again, this might be the same issue we had before, and this is easier because we have a big cap over here and we have 5.6 ohms. So not good, but this is not the VRMs. So again, we are shorting through the other side. But 5 ohms, that is, that's weird, because 5 ohms, that is the resistance of the CPU. Let's hook over here somewhere, maybe this. Let's see which one's ground. This is ground, so this is not ground. And this has 1 ohm, so we have 1 ohm on this cap, not even. But this is high, or this is voltage, and we have 4 ohms over here. So I think it's the same issue we had before. We're closing the circuit on the other side. So none of these VRMs are shorted, but we have the short through the CPU. Right. That's, yeah. So this is good. So we're showing 5 ohms. We're showing 5 ohms here because we don't have a short over here, right? The current is not flowing through here. Instead, the current is going through here, through the CPU, to ground, to the GPU, and through the GPU, through the shorted VRM on the GPU, back to that main rail. So that's what's happening. So the VRM on GPU is shorted. Let's do again, but we had 1 ohm, right? Which still doesn't make sense. So from here, let's check which one is, I think it was, because this is marking, it's on these caps, it's the positive that is marked, right? On some caps, or most caps, it's the negative, or on electrolytic caps, it's the negative that we... Why does it show 1 ohm? 0.9, 0.8, slowly going down. So I'm not sure. If one of these was shorted, we would see 0. Now, the VRM could short in a way that it is a 1 ohm resistor. That is possible, but unlikely. I mean, not unlikely. It's I'm not sure, but VRM is definitely shorted. So now Once we locate the shorted VRM, we need to check the GPU, because it's possible that the GPU will shorted out as well. Very unfortunate. Again, absolute butchering of it. It's an easy repair. Just remove the BIOS, fix the BIOS, put the BIOS back on, boot the computer, and it works. Now because the customer said that we read it, right? That when the computer came back from the shop, it was booting, or it was at least turning on. And they kept trying to turn it on, and even one time got to the Dell logo. So I don't understand why the VRM is shorted now. All right, let's update the customer. He's not gonna be happy. He had so much bad experience with the shops over there where he lives that, oh my god, I really feel bad for him. On the other hand, I don't want to criticize other shops, but come on, fellas, it's just ridiculous that you destroy customers' devices. It's it's fine if you're a shop that only replaces the batteries or screens or keyboards. There's a lot of value in those shops, and there's no shame saying that. Say I don't do motherboard component level repair. I can replace the motherboard for you or battery or stuff, but nothing beyond that. And they did offer to replace the motherboard for $800, which motherboard replacement would definitely fix this issue. But how does it come back from the shop with shorted VRM? This doesn't make sense. 0 cents. Aye. Okay, and the short is nowhere. It's consuming 0.4. I got it to 0.4 watts. I don't want to go any higher, but nothing's lighting up. The only thing that I noticed that lit up, let me take a look what it is. This chip. I don't know what it is, but I don't think this is a source of short, although it looks kind of like it has seen some heat. The reason is I don't see big traces. Oh, actually there are some relatively large traces going to it. It might just be turning on. What I'm injecting is half a volt, and I went up to like 0.6. So that might be enough to just turn on this chip. It's not like it's glowing super red, but that's the only thing that I see that is changing color. What is this? X159, whatever that might be. Let's test it with the meter. So it looks like, oh yeah, three pins over here are connected to one. Yeah, so this chip does transmit some power. And we have 2 ohms on it. So again, this is not going to be this chip. It's lighting up because it's transmitting power to something that is shorted. And the short should be somewhere here. How it's 1.8 ohms over here, and on the input we got even low, 0.8, 0.7. So on this side something is shorted. We got dead short over here. Yeah, that's gonna be a dead short, although it's showing 0.7, 0.8, so hard to say. I'm gonna need a board view for this, because it's not a typical fault. So typically what I thought was gonna be a VRM, but looks like that circuit is closing somewhere else. It's not the VRM that's shorted, which actually makes sense, because typically when the VRM is shorted, you get 0. You get plain 0 ohms on VRM. Here we're getting like an ohm or something like that. So it was a long shot that it's going to be one of the VRMs, but we still have a short somewhere, and we gotta find it. Okay, the board is removed because the short is not on that side. So I figured it's going to be on this side, and most likely we'll see, but my suspicion goes to EC chip, and we'll see in a second, because it makes sense. The only thing heating up is that little chip over here, this one, but the chip itself doesn't seem to be shorted, and it looks like it just opens. We'll see, because it's the only thing heating up. But someone forgot to mention that this is liquid damage case, and the liquid is sticky. The sticky liquid means we have to clean it with water, because water dissolves sugar better than alcohol. But before I do, let's see if the EC chip is going to light up, because if the EC chip is going to light up, then then it's not good, because we are going to have to replace the EC chip. And it's not even the problem of replacing the chip. It's pretty basic, but locating the chip, getting the chip that is actually blank, then writing the BIOS in a way to basically reprogram the EC chip. Typically you get them sourced from or recovered from other boards, and that means that they are not clean. So okay, it's not the EC chip, it's some kind of some different chip over here. I'm still injecting to the wires that I have on the GPU, testing the VRMs. But since it's taking power, what is this? Again, this is not the source of the short. This is some kind of transistor, some kind of switch. It's just turning on 30 degrees. Then we have the resistor over here. Oh, okay. I was looking for this resistor. Let me show you. This one. This is 4.7. That's a little high. But I was looking for the main current limiting resistor. So this resistor is warming up. So we have the short on one side of this. So we could just remove it and confirm which side is it. But I first just want to confirm that it's not going to be an EC chip. Because when the EC chip is shorted, then usually it's not the EC chip that will heat up. It's going to be the whatever supplies it. So there's usually some kind of regulator that supplies the chip. Now, what is this? You see this? This means it's no bueno. So someone's been here with an iron and replaced this cap very poorly, I must say. But hey, it'll work, right? Okay, it looks like the EC chip has been replaced. Doesn't it look like it? Very poor soldering. I mean, I don't do much better work on these. Maybe it's tiny bit better, but not much better, as long as it works, right? Yeah, the EC chip on this has been replaced. Why was the EC chip replaced? If this is indeed EC. Yep. Okay, EC definitely has been replaced. We see the signs of melting over here. We don't know how many components are missing over here that should be missing. I would think that there was something here. This doesn't look like factory to me. I would think so. Okay, so this is what I think happened. I don't know, I'm kind of guessing, but this is what I think happened. They removed the LCD with battery present and the laptop died. Maybe they did do the BIOS, then they figured, okay, we fried the EC chip, so let's replace the EC chip, and so they did. Thank you. They also didn't clean up after themselves, and we have flux left over. It's not good. It's never good. to leave the flux. Even if it's NC flux, we have serious melting over here. Yeah, it's definitely not easy to work on these with. I'm sure they covered it with something. There just wasn't enough. Because if they didn't cover this, it would completely be melted. Because you gotta heat it up relatively well. But we don't know if there isn't stuff missing, so definitely we need a board view. When I inject, this little part lights up in the middle. So typically on those chips, right, the actual chip is small, like this size, the actual die, right? So that's the chip, and the rest of the chip is just wiring, basically. So this is normal that only a little bit lights up over here, but again, the question here is, if we connect the power directly to the C chip, okay, is it fried? Because we're not connecting directly. Okay, so the short is, yeah, definitely. The short is on this side of the resistor. Let me show you. So, checking against the ground, or in reference to ground, right? On this side, we are 0.6 right now, 0.5, 0.4. It'll go to 0, 0. And on this side, we have 1.4, 1.1 ohms. So on this side, we have a dead short. On this side, we have non-dead short, but still, on both sides of this resistor, we are shorted to ground, because there's not supposed to be 1 ohm to ground anywhere. Nowhere should that be. Okay, let's do some more injection, but first, since we got the board out, some screws were missing and some screws weren't put not in the place where they're supposed to be. The wrong screws, basically. Okay, this is revision 2.0 and one of these numbers. HY660, 661, 561, 572, 56C and 57K. Which one is it? Hard to say. 2021. No lead. Alright, if you guys have any board views for this, do let me know. What has been over here? Because maybe this isn't liquid damage, maybe it looks like it's the flux. There was so much work done over here. So this this transistor, is it a Q125 or QI25? So that's going to be transistor. And that's diode and diode. Are these supposed to be missing? We don't know. Yeah, I think this isn't liquid damage. It's just damage from the shop. The leftover flux. Because flux will be sticky. And there's a transistor over here that looks like an input transistor that is not shorted. We have 1 ohm on this cap, so definitely there's 1 ohm short somewhere here. And 1 ohm short is the worst kind of short that you can have, because that means a semiconductor shorted. By semiconductor, I don't mean the transistor. I mean the actual some kind of chip. Oh, also, what I didn't notice before, because it was under the SSD, the keyboard was not plugged in correctly. So that, keep that in mind. In this case, it doesn't really matter, but keep that in mind when you press the power button and nothing happens. Check if the keyboard is connected properly, because maybe the power button is just not connected properly, and you could start, chasing wild geese. All right, let me try a few other things over here, but this is not looking good. This, again, butchering, the problem of butchering. Well, at least they did some work, right? You see that they did a lot of work, in fact, right? A lot of melting. This is melted as well. So maybe this chip has been also replaced. Could be. I mean, this looks like unoccupied, unpopulated from the factory, so I wouldn't expect that they just didn't install the chip or remove the chip and didn't replace it or something like that. I wouldn't think so, but everything's possible. Yeah, so that is the input transistor. It's definitely not BQ architecture, it's gonna be intersil, but it's so dirty here, I can't even see anything on it. Okay, so when I inject over here, this chip lights up and the I don't remember now, either this part, this corner, or this corner. I don't remember now. But one corner of this chip lights up. Very light. So this is what's grabbing the power. Let's see what it is. But judging by this resistor over here, and caps over here, and the location of the chip, I'm guessing this is the power management, the charging chip. Let's see. Maybe that white mark on it was marked that it needs to be replaced. Is it? Oh, this isn't power management chip. This is something rather unrelated. I think this is USB controller. Yeah. Well, it's definitely not an power management chip. So, but that's not over. That is not over. Even if we remove this chip to relieve the short, that's fine. There is still 1 ohm short on the other side, that resistor, right? So this is not over. This is not the only shorted component here. But first, let's remove this chip and see where we go with this. So even without this chip, the computer should work. I mean, if I'm right that this is not the power management chip, because this is a much newer laptop than I typically work on, than the ones I typically work on. So maybe, who knows? But I would say that this is the USB chip or something like that. Okay, so now we have 7 ohms on that rail, right? We had 0 here. Now we have 7 ohms, and on this side we have 2.2. The board is hot right now, so the measurements could be a little all over the place. But this was one shorted component. Now we gotta find another one once the board cools down. I was thinking of cleaning it, but there's a chance we're gonna have to just replace the board. I don't know. Definitely, it's not gonna be $800 to replace it, as the other shop wanted, but that might be, I don't know. We'll see, because I don't see any damage to the board, so maybe we don't have to. Maybe we just need to replace crap load of components. But it is definitely not looking good. But looks like CPU is fine, and they said that it was shorted or that it was faulty, and the GPU maybe. Okay, the next thing that seems to be shorted, or the thing that lights up, is this. This is a regulator, a linear regulator, LDO. It drops from probably 20 volts input to low voltage, and most likely it supplies EC chip. So typically when I see these warming up, it's usually not them actually shorted, it's something shorted on the other side, and typically it's the EC chip. But our resistance, series resistance on the input is 1.8, 1.7 ohms. On the output, which is this one, we have 2 ohms on the output, 1.8, 1.7, it's dropping, right? So if we connect in between, I'm actually in reverse, so let's reverse the probes and check input and output, and we have 0.7. in conjunction with this lighting up on the scope, I conclude that this is indeed shorted. Because typically, it's when you connect between input and output, it's fine. But on the output, it is shorted, but not on the input, right? And that's how we know that something on the other side is shorted. But here, it looks like this thing is shorted. So let's remove it and see if the short goes away. Okay, and the short is gone. So these two components were shorted. Now let's flip the board and check the big coil again. But the short should be gone. This one. We had 0 or like 1 ohm on this one. Now let's check. Oh, it's still 1.7, 1.6, 1.5. Okay, something else is still shorted. So we have more than 2 components that are shorted here. What is controlling this coil though? I don't see any transistors around it. And in fact, it looks like there are some components missing here. Well, this could be from the factory. Also, the coil, does it look like it has been resoldered? And perhaps someone lifted the coil to check on which side the short is. Which is not a bad thing. It's actually pretty smart. We have only 1 transistor on the other side, but this is definitely a switch. Now, without this LDO, obviously the computer is not going to work because this LDO most likely supplies EC chip. So the computer is not going to turn on and it's going to be dead. What is controlling this coil? Oh my god. It's a big coil, so I would expect either big transistors, like here we have a coil and 2 transistors around it. Sometimes it's a coil and a chip that controls it, or like here, 2 transistors in the coil. That's typically how it goes. But this one doesn't have any transistors around it, and I don't see any chips that would be driving it. Has it been this chip that drives that coil? It could be. Actually, it's probably the only explanation. I gotta see what that chip is. But now we're just gonna get the board view and hopefully schematics. But we don't know if we can get it. Alright, well, I guess we have to keep looking. Okay, so the only thing lighting up when I inject is this little guy. Again, is it because it is shorted or it's working as it's supposed to be working? Maybe it's also a linear regulator. And the short is on the other side. So using the same method, right, we check, I don't know which one's input, which one's output, but on one side we got 2.3 and on this side we have 2. Now it's going to 1.7 and so on. And the resistance between them is 1.8, 1.9. So I don't expect this to be shorted. The short is around it some. That's what I would think. But again, let's just lift it and see if it's this one or not. Okay, now we have 1K and it's growing because the board is hot. So it was shorted. So component number 3 shorted. And the diagnosis of the other shop was it's the CPU. It's the CPU. Now I'm putting all these components back in my little box because I don't know if we're gonna be able to find the board view and schematics. So we'll see. This might be tricky. Okay, so now let's clean it and let's check that coil again. Maybe now the short is gonna be finally gone. See, I didn't expect this one to be shorted because typically it's not the component itself. Typically it's something behind the chip. But in this case, all three suspects were actually shorted. So again, the board is still pretty hot, but should at least give us the answer whether we still have short on this coil. Come on, short be gone. Nope. 1.5. Yeah. Something else is still shorted. Alright, keep looking. Okay, shorted component number 4. This looks like VRM, but I don't think it is. It is pretty close to the GPU, but I don't think. Looking at the pinout, it doesn't look like VRM, but could be. What is this? Parade. Oh, I think this is a VRM. What is it supplying? And what is this next to it? This probably is a paste, a thermal paste. Most likely this was a thermal paste. But this is lighting up on the thermal camera, and EC chip is lighting up as well. But EC chip lighting up could be normal. Let's not jump into conclusions. But I was thinking, where did they get the EC chip for replacement? And that's what I think happened, judging by this number of shorts. So we're on the short number 4, right? We don't know if this is the last one. There could be more. 4 shorts on one board. Most likely they improperly removed the screen. I don't know what for, since it was the BIOS issue. Why would you even need to remove the screen? But most likely they removed the screen, the computer went dead, so they noticed that the EC chip, or they know that the EC chip is likely to get fried, and they replaced it. But where did they get the replacement from? That's interesting. All right, let's find this chip. All right, looks like I can get the chip on eBay, but they don't say what this chip is. New, and that's it. Dear customer, our main business is selling computer IC chips, blah blah blah. So we don't know what this chip is, but we can replace it. So let's just remove it and see what we can do. I hate removing these because they require a lot of heat. We need to cover the plastic components around it. Alright, it actually wasn't too bad. This chip doesn't seem to have a lot of thermal mass. Also, I increased the temperature and airflow based on the previous ones. Sometimes it's better to operate with higher temperature, higher airflow, because you expose the board to lower temperature, meaning less time you spend heating it up. But on the other hand, you heat up just one little piece of the board very high, very quickly, and the rest is not. So it kind of depends. Sometimes it's better to use a little lower temperature and just spend a little more time to just heat up the whole board uniformly. Okay, yeah, we didn't need this much protection, but better safe than sorry, right? Yeah, no signs of melting. That's what I like to see. Alright, component number 4. If it was indeed shorted, but at this point I'm just removing them. This many shorts on a single board with BIOS issue. Crazy. Absolutely crazy, insane. Now, is the short gone? Oh my god, no. No. You know what? I'm done with this board. I think it's EC. Now it's only EC that heats up. Let's see. We should be able to figure out where the power comes in. Nope. Typically it's the resistor. There's a big resistor on the input, but I don't see it. Okay, I'm gonna wait for it to cool down, and I'll inject again. But this is just ridiculous. This much damage. I've seen less damage on the boards that were hit by lightning. and this was just hit by a repair shop. It's crazy. All right, this chip is the next one that is lighting up. I don't know, guys. It just, there's so much damage that I don't know if this is even worth it. Because now, just for parts, if I just have to order all these chips, that's gonna be probably, with shipping and everything, it's gonna be probably a couple $100. Yeah, the chips are not expensive, but if you buy just one of each, you know, yeah, it's gonna be, yeah, the chip is gonna be maybe $2, maybe $5, plus 15, 20 delivery. And if I could order them all from one place, then yeah, that would be great. But okay, we're still grabbing too much power, so I'm not even checking the resistance, but I see I'm still grabbing the same power, so we're still shorted. I don't even have to check. So another, this is lighting up. Should it be? It's lighting up at to 38 degrees. So if it was, it shouldn't turn on with 0.8 volts, because we're putting 0.8 volts. This is 5-volt rail. So it shouldn't be turning on. So if it's lighting up under the camera, it is faulty. But I'm pretty sure this is gonna be still the same because it's grabbing too much. Well, it's 3.2 ohms. Okay, so we're making progress. That's crazy. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Why would someone do this to the board? So, shall we look for something else shorted? Let's wait for the board to cool down, and let's at least release this short, but I'm pretty sure the EC is also fried. With this much damage, definitely EC got the hit. And I don't trust this replacement. Also, I'm not sure, is this the pin 1? Is this pin 1? Or this is pin 1? Typically, it's the smaller circle that identifies pin 1. But I was thinking, what if they just put the chip the other way around? At this point, anything is possible. Okay, is this going to be the last thing? PQ5202 is shorted. So that's component number 5. And that is shorted. Okay, now we have 4.5 ohms. That was not the last short. Or did I remove the wrong transistor? That is actually possible, unfortunately. Nope. Oh, yeah. No, don't tell me I removed the wrong one. It's too hot now to see it. Oh. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I removed the right one. This one was lighting up on the camera. But I still have a short on this one, which doesn't mean that this transistor is shorted. Okay, it's a bit too hot to check right now. Let's give it a minute. Okay, U2 is also lighting up. So let's remove it. What is this component? But this is the last one I'm removing, because this is just ridiculous. I don't know, the only reason I'm doing this in the first place, or the only reason I went this far is, first of all, this is a good customer. Second of all, I'm too stubborn to just not find the culprit. But this is really not economically viable, because now imagine how much do I have to charge for replacing all those chips, and even afterwards we don't know if something else is not going to be an issue. right? Because we're just going to resolve the electrical fault, but then, you know, problems with VC, problems with PCH maybe, who knows? A lot of stuff can go. Okay, now it's grabbing 160, 148, so 0.1 watt. This, I think this is fine now. I think this will be, because the series resistance on this coil could be at around few ohms. That is normal. It just shouldn't be a short, right? Not few ohms should be fine. Yeah, 6 ohms now. So each chip we remove, it drops slightly, but I don't know. Is the 6 ohms okay on this coil? We don't know. We do not know. We don't have the schematics, and even with the schematics, it's not like the schematics gives you the series resistances on stuff. That's how we produce the manuals, the repair manuals. We just get the working board and we check with the diode reading, with the resistance readings and all that kind of stuff. And then when you get the board that doesn't work, you compare those measurements, and if they're way off, then you know roughly where to look. But that's pretty much it. So we don't have this, so we don't know if the 6 ohms on this coil is okay. But 6 ohms, I can believe that it's fine. Or good. It is a big coil, so it's supposed to supply a lot of stuff. But this was the last thing other than the EC chip that lights up. But EC chip is not lighting up as bright as I would expect if it was shorted. So maybe EC chip is fine. But what good is it if we have half the chips on the board fried? This is the absolute first such case that I see. You know, I've seen, what did we have? The Acer, was it? We're still waiting on the second EC chip, but probably that was the same thing. Maybe the screen, doesn't matter. But yeah, something went wrong and the EC shorted out. But we replaced the EC and, you know, at least electrically, it's working. BQ chip is opening transistors and it's not charging, but that could also be explained by the EC. So yeah, I understand one thing, maybe even 2 chips fry. But what was it, chip number 6 that we just removed? So 6 chips shorted during one procedure of basically fixing the BIOS, which is so simple. And actually, the BIOS that I read from this one didn't have the serial numbers on it. So that leads us to believe that the other shop actually did update the BIOS, or did indeed write the BIOS. But on these, well, it kind of depends on the computer, obviously, on the manufacturer. But typically, that BIOS that you get off the website, it's not a full BIOS. You're expected to just take the parts of that BIOS and put it in your binary and build the binary. Not just take the BIOS off the website and just put it on the chip, because obviously you're gonna have the service tag or serial numbers. You're gonna have a Windows key on it. ME region is going to be specific to the board. It's going to be specific to whatever GPU and CPU you have. A lot of stuff. So no, it's not as simple as just pulling the binary off the website and writing it to the chip. And that's probably what they did. And I don't think that actually caused the damage. I think during the process they just, maybe to remove the chip, they wanted to remove the board, and that's when the damage happened. I don't know, but this is just absolutely insane. Yeah, I wish I could help you, but no, this is just not viable, not economically viable. I would have to charge a lot of money to fix this, even if I want to give you like the best price I can. imagine how many hours I have to spend on this now. Not to mention replacing the case, because that's also gonna be a lot of work. But yeah, I already agreed to replacing the case, so that's not a problem. I mean, it's just time consuming, but at least it's satisfying, right? Because I know it's gonna work, it's gonna produce results. But with this, yeah, I say this is going to trash. This should go to trash. For, I know, I can pay you $50 for this. It's crazy. And it's not because sometimes I deal with cases where the customer, DIYer, tried doing something and they messed up, and I always pat them on the back and give them good prices and that kind of stuff. But the repair shop did this many shorted chips on the board. And you could argue that maybe that last one, maybe it wasn't shorted, it was just turning on. Possible, right? But the ones, the first 3 or 4 chips that I removed, we confirmed that there was 00 on the chip. I removed the chip, and there's 1K after the chip is removed. So definitely chip is shorted. And they were all power related, at least the ones that I did identify. I'm not sure about the rest. So this is definitely, it screams display removal while the computer is in S4 state or S5 state, powered on. Crazy. That's just absolutely crazy. But yeah, that's where we are right now. It's just going to be cheaper. I'm not even going to charge you for replacing the board. I'm just going to charge you for the $40 bench fee, okay, and for replacing the covers and stuff, and the BIOS, the BIOS fix. Although now I probably shouldn't even charge you for BIOS fix, because I fixed the BIOS on the broken board. But the whole procedure, if I received this laptop first with the description that it's the BIOS issue, that would have been about an hour procedure, not even. That includes waiting for LED Farmer to do his magic. Take the chip, write the chip, or read the chip, write the chip, replace the chip. That's it. $50 plus shipping, and you get working computer. And instead, we have a paperweight. And it is really nice combination. The AMD with 4070. Very nice computer. But now it's a big paperweight. Sorry, man. I know it sucks, and I wish I could help you, but this is just beyond ridiculous. I don't know, send this video to the other shop maybe, and see if they can cover the repair, or just give you the replacement board. We can send this board back to them, right? So they can use it for parts, and have them send you the replacement board. And I'll install it for you for free. That's all I can offer. Crazy. Jesus Christ. Actually, I'm gonna say it. It's a shop in El Paso. That's, I think, the third job that they botched horribly. Melting or other stuff. Well, at least here there's not too much melting, but still there was melting, as you saw. And I can live with melting. I'm not gonna throw the stone. It's not one time, not 10 times that I melted something that I was not supposed to melt. Yeah, it happens. All right, fellas, we're gonna stop here. We're gonna send the video to the customer. Hopefully the customer is gonna send it to the shop, and we're gonna get the replacement board, because can you believe it? Well, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate you, and I shall see you in the next one. We have an AM5 socket to replace on the motherboard. The board is drying right now. Been drying since yesterday, so maybe I'll do it today. See you guys. Take care.